the way.
We're wanted men.
I have spoken.
Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Smugglers Galaxy podcast. I believe this one's number 16 in our jaunt across the Star Wars galaxy, following the Mandalorian and the child around. Jason, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. It's early, but we're here chilling.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a late night with the club.
Yeah.
We were up till about 11:30, which was hard for us because we're old folks.
Yeah, 10 o'clock's my bedtime, so 11:30 was way past that. Plus, I had to assist our elf on the shelf with, hope my kids don't listen to this. Well, my elf on the shelf was doing his thing, and I was watching to see him work his magic, and yeah, that watching him do that made me stay up even later. So it's way past my bedtime last night.
Yeah, your elf takes after you guys, man. He has some pretty inventive things he gets into.
Yep. And it's, yeah, when he starts working on that stuff, it's very long process. So it's a late night, but we're here to talk about Star Wars, not elves.
Yeah.
How's your week?
My week was all right, man. I didn't really, it's a Christmas time, so there's not a whole lot unless I'm getting them for presents, and my wife seems to be getting me lots of presents this year. So I'll have a report here on the after Christmas show and see what kind of cool stuff she got me. How was yours?
Cool. It was good. So Mando Monday came out and they dropped the Bo-Katan Black Series action figure, and I tried to get that, but that thing sold out in like 4 minutes. It's quite frustrating.
Really?
Yeah, because I had it in my cart. I was ready to check out, and there was a waiting process. And by the time I finally was able to check out, it was gone. So I had to get it through a big bad toy store, but I did find it. I mean, I did get it, but yeah. But it was still frustrating.
Yeah, that the whole internet thing sucks. I tried getting it from GameStop because they did the same thing with her that they did with Dark Array, where they had it priced too cheap.
Yeah.
And by the time I got around to doing it, I was at the eye doctor trying to get it, and I got to the checkout portion and it said something's wrong with your cart. So apparently they might have figured out that they had it priced wrong because it was priced for like $12.
Yep. Yeah, I bought that. No, I bought that rate for $12, but then they came back a couple months later and said our price was incorrect. If you still want it, we'll give it to you. If not, go in and cancel.
Yeah, well, they still should have honored that price, I think, at least because I know some guys were buying 2 and 3 of them. At least on one of those, they should have said, "Hey, we screwed up. Here it is for $12, but if you want any more, you're gonna have to pay full retail."
Right, it's bad customer service.
Right? Have you gotten that figure yet? I know she's been popping up in stores.
No, I pre-ordered her on GameStop, so I'm just waiting for that to come in.
Okay.
But I did find Moff Gideon at Walmart while doing some Christmas shopping for other people. The vintage collection, which is kind of fitting.
The little one.
Yeah, which is nice because he comes with the Darksaber. So that's my first Darksaber. 3.75.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was the only guy left on the shelf. He's like immaculate. Usually when you find a fresh case and there's one figure left, he's left behind because he's damaged in some way. But this one was a great card.
Was that the Walmart off on Bell's Ferry?
No, this one was Smyrna.
Okay.
Hiram, way out there.
Yeah, because I know the one up near me had the 3 3/4, and it was the same situation where he was the last one left.
Yeah. I'm still learning Atlanta, so I don't know all the names, but I think that was right.
Have you seen the new Jabba's sipping cup at Galaxy's Edge?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then there's the new puppet for the Dianoga.
Oh yeah, that's awesome looking too.
Yeah. I would love to get my hands on that.
Yeah, the Dianoga, it looks like it comes with a case and everything. I have no clue what it runs, but it's,
I think it's about
Disney,
40.
How much? 40?
40, I think. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
Okay.
off.
Oh no, man, it's all good. That's what editing's for. Yeah, when you pay up at Disney, they'll give you your money's worth. I think that sipping cup's in the $20 range, and it basically looks like Jabba's hookah, and it's even got a little frog in the bottom of it. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty cool piece to have, especially if you're a Return of the Jedi fan.
darkink.com is running a Star Wars
Oh,
Celebration art show till the end of the year. And they
yeah.
have about, I think, 20 different pieces of art. Some of the cool ones, like the Ahsoka one's already sold out. And there's a really awesome Yoda one that's sold out, but they've got stuff that's ranging from $30 up to a couple of hundred. So check that out.
Yeah, I was looking at that piece with the child looking at the shelves of I guess it was Empire Strikes Back action figures, and I really, really wanted it, but I'm running out of space, wall space.
How you saw my walls.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
I love,
moving the bigger pieces into the freaking stairwell because I have no
yeah,
room, no other room.
it's such a
So yeah, I'm in that boat
difficult
too,
thing.
man. You got a good collection too, and then you go to use the restroom, which is just off your collection room, and you're like, why didn't I see this before? It's
Yeah, that's my
full of great
stairwell.
art.
That's my stairwell. That's the overflow.
Yeah, but it's got some amazing pieces in it too.
I mean, I love the art, and there was a lenticular Empire Strikes Back poster that was available through one of those services that was a couple $100, but I mean, you walk by it and it's in 3D, it moves. I really, really wanted that piece, but $200, I gotta pass.
When it breaches that $100 mark, I really got to think about the art. But $50, I'll throw down $50 all day on a good piece of art.
Yeah, when my budget is maybe about $100 a month on Star Wars figures, and I go over that because of Black Series, you buy 5 Black Series, that's $20 each, maybe 25 depending on the store. That's my budget, and I don't have room for that, and quite literally, I don't have wall space for it either. So, as cool as it is, I have to pass.
Yeah, I did like that one with the one you were talking about with the kid looking at all the Empire Strikes Back toys. That was one that I really liked. And then there was
Yeah.
another one that I don't know who the artist is, but he does the the ride-on toys, the riding toys in front of a store.
Oh yeah.
Um, he does the Star Wars versions of those, and I actually met him at Celebration because he was at one of the room sales selling his art, and I did not have the cash to, because he was selling artist proofs, and they were in that $200 to $300 range, and I didn't have the money. I was like,
Yeah.
damn it.
Yeah. It's still cool to dream and want it.
Oh yeah.
We're not Rancho Obi-Wans. We're just two dudes with a den.
Yes. I could put a freaking chicken coop out in my backyard, but
Why not?
I don't.
You have the space.
You can't compete with that man, Steve
No.
Sansweet. Yeah. Plus, he's got inside tracks with people, and he's worked in the business. So yeah, you can't compete with that guy.
Yeah. Just collect what you love. Don't collect it all.
Right. Stick with what you want. Yeah.
So I listened to this podcast. Jim Hill, who is a Disney expert, he knows everything about the parks, the company. I mean, he's read all the books. He's talked to all the Imagineers, all the animators. So this guy is pretty legit. And he was talking about what Disney Plus just released for the upcoming slate of shows and movies for Star Wars. And he was saying that, there's a massive Star Wars event that's going to happen, which is going to start with Ahsoka, continue in with Rangers of the New Republic, and end on a future episode or a future season of The Mandalorian. And so it's my understanding from what Jon Favreau was saying is that he's taking a Game of Thrones approach. So if you haven't seen Game of Thrones, come on out from under a rock. But sorry, I don't mean to be insulting, but no, it's a good show. But what that is it's different points of view. So you might see one aspect from one area of the island that they live on, Westeros, and another story in another place of the island, but they're all kind of related, and what happens in one place does reflect what happens in another place. So I would imagine that level of storytelling where there's an overall story arc, but then they cut that up into smaller pieces so that Ahsoka's telling one story, Rangers of the New Republic tells another story, my best guess, and this is again just my speculation, it's the formation of the new First Order. I think that's the overall story, and each season will show you little pieces of how that's happening, like the Mandalorian showing about the cloning of the Emperor and Snoke.
I did, speaking of seeing Snoke in that jar when they showed this episode, like in the opening credits, you looked at it and I guess they lingered on it a little bit much, and you're like, maybe Snoke, because you can kind of the facial features are a little bit more prominent.
Yeah, and after this last episode, when they kind of spell out exactly what they wanted with Grogu, I think it does lead credence to cloning Snoke and the Emperor.
Right.
And there's another rumor about the Obi-Wan show that clone Commander Cody is going to be a villain. He's going to be tracking Obi-Wan down.
Well, I mean, that makes sense, because did he move? If he didn't remove the chip, then yeah, he would be a villain.
Yep, he would still be under the influence of the Emperor and doing that bidding.
That would be interesting. Because wasn't Cody like his clone?
Yeah, he was the general. Obi-Wan was his general, so he was following him. And then we see in Order 66, the command come through, and Cody, was supporting Obi-Wan and quickly flips to trying to destroy Obi-Wan. So that would be interesting to see Obi-Wan not be a general anymore, basically, and want to convert, so to speak, Cody to the good side and try to work with him and show him the path of the right way, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. All speculation.
Yeah, we won't know until we see it again, and yeah.
Yeah, but they're building what they call the Void, which is that screen for the Mandalorian that they have in the background. They're building those in London and Australia. So,
wow.
Yeah, so they're going to be expanding, and they'll be able to produce more Disney shows. And I think the plan is to have one Disney show per quarter, so we don't have to wait years for shows to come on. So, like we just finished The Mandalorian, so there would be something premiering in the spring, and then in the summer, and then in the fall, there'd be different shows.
That would be awesome. Because I mean, with that many shows coming out, they're going to have to do something like that, and it'll make perfect sense. Every 4 months, here's a new show.
But apparently, the success of The Mandalorian has shifted the strategy behind how they approach Star Wars, and that's why we're getting so many shows as opposed to movies. So, yeah. Pretty cool.
I mean, I think the whole coronavirus has changed everything, because how many movie theaters are you seeing boarded up now, and
that's true.
Nobody's going to movies.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, after this last episode of The Mandalorian, I seriously miss that communal experience. I miss everyone not jumping up and cheering and clapping, and you're just alone in your room. The experience is completely different from where it used to be, and I look forward to the day where we're in the movie theater together watching Rogue Squadron, because I'm hoping that coronavirus will be gone, and we can share that experience and cheer and clap. And I think when you start feeding off the energy of the people around you, it makes for a richer experience.
It does. When I still remember watching Rise of Skywalker, and everybody around me is just boo-hooing, and you're boo-hooing, and yeah, you feed off all that.
Yep.
With it being 3 years out, I'm really hoping things will change, or it's going to have to. It's going to be, it's that far out. So I guess we'll knock on wood, everything will go good. And we'll at least be able to deal with it in 3 years. But
yeah.
Man, we stayed up way too late last night, Jason, because
apparently the energy's low today. I gotta do that McConaughey thing where you slam your chest. All right, I'm good. Let's go. All right.
I mean, it's just oh jeez.
No, I mean, like, after that last episode of The Mandalorian, which we're going to get into, how do you come back from it? The energy of that for me was exhausting. I mean, I was dancing around my kitchen and annoying my family for about an hour, like I was a 3-year-old who couldn't be controlled. It was kind of embarrassing, but at the same time, so joyful. And so I'm just tired from that.
Now, were you dancing around last night, or were you dancing around this morning when you rewatched it?
Last night,
Oh.
this morning was a different experience.
Yeah.
So you want to just get into it?
Let's just get into it, man. Let's
All
see
right.
if we can bring some life into this thing.
Yeah, so chapter 16, which I thought it was kind of cool. Our episodes have been matching the Mandalorian's chapters. So this is episode 16, and we're talking about chapter 16. It's called The Rescue, written by Jon Favreau and directed by Peyton Reed, who directed Ant-Man and the Wasp and Ant-Man and other stuff. He also directed Frog Lady episode. So that's where he comes from. But we open up on Slave One attacking an Imperial shuttle in the middle of space. It's apparently like Imperial hotshots that are driving this thing, because Dr. Pershing is complaining that, are they going to get us? And one's like, I suggest you shut your mouth. This isn't a laboratory. And they just felt like really Top Gun-ish to me. But Slave One hits their engines and knock the engines out with an ion cannon, and they're kind of dead in space. Mandalorian boards the ship, and the pilot tries to negotiate with the Mandalorian because he wants to, save his life. And the other pilot just blasts the first pilot, and it's just like no room for negotiation here. We do learn that Dr. Pershing is a clone engineer, which is important. The pilot, then Cara Dune walks in, and the pilot kind of talks about how he sees her tattoo and he knows that she's Alderaanian. I don't know what the proper term is. Because of the teardrop underneath her eye, he knows that she's an Alderaan person. And the pilot says he saw Alderaan get destroyed because he was on the Death Star. And she's like, which one? Kind of insinuating like, it doesn't matter because we blew up both of them. And he's pushing her buttons and she's pushing his buttons. But in the end, he really gets to her and she just blasts him in the face.
When I first watched it, I couldn't tell who blasted him, but I thought maybe somebody had, the sharpshooter. She might have done it and then just disappeared. But then upon second watching, you realize it was her.
Yeah, it was just cold for her.
You ever seen Clerks?
No, I haven't seen it. No.
There's a scene in Clerks that they're talking about the Death Star. They get to talk about Death Star 1 versus Death Star 2, and how Death Star 2 must have had a lot of innocent people on it because they were still building it. So they had a lot of contractors and stuff on it. It's Kevin Smith, so that'll give you those that don't know. So it's basically a stoner show. And how basically all these millions of innocents got killed in Death Star 2 because they were still building it versus Death Star 1 where it was more Imperials. Long story short, that scene, that little exchange reminded me of that scene from Clerks. So it was just, and how everybody, millions of people died on those Death Stars, and the world cheered, the galaxy cheered, and the Empire the guy was still, you could tell he was still pissed.
Yeah, completely understand that point of view.
So it was cool to hear it from that point of view, from the Empire's point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. I like how they try to humanize the Empire a little bit and say there is other perspectives in the galaxy, other points of view.
Right. And then one thing I missed, I needed to rewatch it, but last night on our chat, Mark had mentioned that they were called terrorists.
Yeah, the rebellions were called terrorists.
Right. So that was sort of the first time that it's bringing a different element on both sides of the story.
Very well done storytelling wise, and I do appreciate the different perspectives. They're kind of enriching the Star Wars mythology. I think for the longest time it was, for lack of a better term, black and white. Kind of two sides of the coin where it was just, you're either heads or you're tails. You're not both. And here we're seeing that, there are some gray areas, that there are people who have different beliefs, kind of like how our country is now. I don't want to get into politics, but, everybody's got their different points of view. And just because it's opposite of yours doesn't mean it's, villainized or anything like that. They have different beliefs and they have different perspectives, and it's all valid, but I don't know. It's just really interesting to me. I guess
right. And I guess it also harks back to last episode where Bill Burr was like, nobody really cares because if you were born on Alderaan, you're fight, crying for Alderaan. If you were born on Mandalore, you were fighting for Mandalore, and nobody, at the end of the day, like I think it's all kind of coming back. It just kind of hit me. It may all be coming back to the last episode where it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just, again, the great writing that they're doing, enriching the Star Wars universe, doing more than just lightsaber fights. So from there, they travel to this planet with giant factories on it. At first, I thought it might have been Geonosis, but there's too much plant life on there to be Geonosis. And it's not the planet from, what is it, episode 3, that water planet, because there's not enough water on this planet. But they do land on some planet with giant factories. We do see that there's a Mandalorian shuttle that we've seen many times in Clone Wars, so we know that Bo-Katan is here, or at least other Mandalorians. Off on the left, it kind of looked like the Ghost. Did you see that?
I did not see that. I will have to.
There's something very similar to the Ghost. I don't think it's the Ghost, but it looks like it.
Oh, damn it! Now I got to rewatch it.
So tell me if you've heard this one before. 2 Mandalorians walk into a bar. Yeah, there's this really cool scene where Boba and Mando walk into the bar and they're just scanning the place, and all the patrons look like, oh, here comes some trouble, and they start walking out. I saw some Rodidians, Ponda Baba, Walrus Man, but it looked like he had a patch on his eye. Everybody starts clearing out because they know there's trouble. And then they see Bo-Katan and her friend kind of sitting by the bar, just having a drink. And Mandalorian says, basically this is like a setup. We need your help kind of scene. But what I really like about this is the lack of respect that Bo-Katan has for Boba Fett. I thought that was just awesome.
I've been waiting for that because you just don't know how Boba is seen in the Mandalorian's eyes, and I wish they would have kind of gone more into it, but I know it was only a 45-minute show and it's not really focused on that.
Yeah.
But and it was cool because they were like they called him out, and she goes, "You're not a Mandalorian," and he goes, "I never said I was." So that was sort of an FU to everything that we learned 2 or 3 episodes ago.
Yeah, he's Mandalorian, but he doesn't really care much about that Mandalorian culture.
Right.
That's how I took it. Yeah.
And that's sort of going back to the EU, because I think that's sort of where Boba falls in, is he cares, but he could care less. If he is, he is. If he's not, he's not. It's your decision. It's not mine. Or I'm going to live my life the way I want to live it, and you interpret it the way you want to interpret it, and I really don't care.
Yeah, basically. I'm just a simple man making my way through the galaxy. That's really all that it comes down. Yeah. Universe. Yeah. One of them said universe, the other one said galaxy, but yeah, I mean that's his kind of train of thought is, I'm just making my way, don't really care about one side or the other. Don't care about Mandalorians.
It's the highest bidder. That's who he cares about. He cares about money, and whoever's going to pay him the most money is where he's going to go.
Yeah, I would think he cares about money and then what people think of him, so that he has to do the job and come through. I think he cares that people respect him.
Right. And also in that scene, I really thought that the female Mandalorian, Sasha Banks character, I thought that she was going to call him father or something because of the way she just acted towards him, because in the EU, he does have a daughter, and there's a rift between them, and it's, they do fight a couple of times, and it's just, there's a healing process that goes along. But yeah, I was really hoping that. But man, I love her fighting style, because with the way she uses a jetpack is something we've never, you see the jetpack used as something for them to get from point A to point B, not as a fighting tool. And it's cool watching her use it to do that.
Yeah, she kind of gets him in a headlock, and then she turns on her jetpack and kind of spins him around, which was pretty cool. And then they both use their flamethrowers at each other at the same time. they're just as powerful as each other, so they kind of meet in the middle and they don't really do any damage to the other person.
Right.
But there is some talk here where Bo-Katan just really wants to unite and unite the Mandalorians and get back Mandalore. And so to me, I really thought that, they're setting up season 3 of The Mandalorian where they're probably going to be trying to take back Mandalore. I don't want to get into it too much spoiler territory. I mean, I don't. We'll save it to the end, but I do think that this is setting up the season 3 of The Mandalorian.
Okay.
I don't know. What do you think?
Between that and the way that it ended, I really think you're right. And where else are they going to go, man? There's nowhere else to go with this storyline other than go to Mandalore.
Exactly. I mean, it is called The Mandalorian, and are we watching the future leader, like King Arthur kind of storytelling here?
Mm.
The person who doesn't want to lead but has the skill set and the responsibility and the I don't know what I'm trying to say, but becomes the what's the word? Not the hesitant leader.
The reluctant?
The reluctant leader. Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, he becomes the reluctant leader of Mandalore. And he earns Bo's respect in the end, maybe. Who knows?
There's stuff that we got to wait because we jump around too damn much. So
Yeah,
I got to wait to give you my.
So then we go to the classic tell the plan scene in Star Wars where everyone's huddled around a hologram and we learn exactly what they're going to do, how they're going to do it. There's dark troopers aboard Moff Gideon's ship that they have to avoid. The child's cell is located underneath it or something like that.
Yeah, it's in the brig, which is on the you're going to pass right by the dark troopers.
Yeah. We also learned that these are 3rd generation dark troopers, which I guess there were a couple generations of dark troopers in the expanded universe, so they're folding that in. But then we cut to what Boba calls jump space, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Is that just like it's just like a select people call it hyperspace, some people call it jump space? Like, is that what they're trying to do here?
It could be. I mean, look at like Walking Dead. How many different terms do they have for the walkers? Every group has their own term for it. So maybe.
But we cut to the Imperial shuttle, and here Kara is talking about how she wants to bring in Moff Gideon, and Bo is kind of insinuating leave Moff Gideon for me. And we find out later why that is an important setup. But that was just an interesting thing that I wanted to mention. But they pull out of jump space, quote unquote, and there's Moff Gideon's ship, and they make it look like Boba Fett is trying to attack the ship. And here I commented, I love seeing the Slave One fly through space. It's, again, that Empire Strikes Back stuff. It's just awesome.
Yeah.
And it's got the same blaster fire from Attack of the Clones, because we really don't hear it fire blasters from Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi. We only see it really in Attack of the Clones, and it's the same like high pitched. It's kind of different than the other ships, and I appreciate that level of detail.
Right.
So then Bo-Katan is trying to call Moff Gideon's ship and basically say, please, we need emergency landing. And Moff Gideon, he's too smart for it. He kind of suspects something's up, and he decides to launch TIE fighters to blast the Slave One out of the sky. I love Boba's confidence throughout all of this. He's just like, I'll take care of it. Take care of yourself, princess. I love how he said that.
Yeah.
I love his confidence.
And that's sort of, I guess, I don't know if Boba realizes who Bo-Katan is at the time or not, but I love how he calls her princess, because she's sort of, you want to rule Mandalore, so all right, we'll call you princess, which is sort of a F you to Bo-Katan. And the way they launched those TIE fighters, man, just reiterates how those guys have got nerves of steel, because when they launch you better be sure you're straight, because you make one mistake out of that launch tube and you're done.
You got to be precise. No room for error.
Yeah, there was no room for error coming out of that launch tube.
But yeah, I guess the launch tube is the same place where you land in that ship.
That's just odd, dude. That's really odd for me.
I'm wondering if it's some sort of security thing, because there's a lot of I don't know what they were on the side, but like if you're trying to land without permission, you can easily get knocked into something. I don't know. Maybe it's some sort of protective thing.
The open bays and stuff with the magnetic shielding on it. Was that how how other ships come in, or it was just an odd design for a ship? If that's how they're going to launch, and if that's how they're taking people on.
I'm going to shut up my brain off and just accept it and enjoy it, I guess. Yeah, if you think about it too much, you're going to find holes in everything. And it's just like, it's a stressful day. I just want to enjoy Star Wars.
Right.
But then the Imperial shuttle just crashes its way into the ship and Boba Fett takes off. And so it's just the five of them left on the ship. And the ladies, they exit the ship and they start blasting their way throughout the entire place. Gideon activates his Dark Troopers right away, which are these super glossy stormtrooper looking robots, which are really, really cool. I can't wait to get that Black Series figure.
They're going to make it right along with the Cobb Vanth.
I hope they capture that same gloss. It reminded me a lot of the floors of the Death Star.
Mm-hmm.
The way their armor glossed and shined in the light. And I like that detail in the figure.
Yeah, and there was something about their faces because they kept showing their faces, and it reminds you of something, but I have no clue what it was.
There's a little Death Trooper in there. There's a little Scout Trooper in there. Yeah, little Purge Trooper in there from Fallen Order.
Yeah, maybe it's just a combination of everything. So we can't put a finger on it, but it's familiar.
Yeah, weren't the Purge Troopers like the Generation 1 Dark Trooper?
Probably. I mean, I don't think they were ever really called that, but I know they did have some Force elements to them.
Yeah, I should look at Wikipedia because I think they're connected, which would make sense because they kind of look, now that I think about it, they look more similar than any of the other troopers.
And the way that those guys have been pulling stuff from the EU and pulling stuff from all over the Star Wars universe, I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, what a time to be alive.
Yeah.
I mean, this is really special. This is a special time with some great storytelling. If they can keep up this level of storytelling, you just got to have your faith that the whole entire season of a show is going to have great quality. It's just awesome.
I mean, think about it, what you just said at the beginning of this. If they're going to be doing a new show every quarter, we're going to have new content all year long next, in a year or so.
Yeah, probably by 2022, if they're going to start shooting everything. Obi-Wan's starting. They're in the middle of Rogue One, the Andor series, which is kind of, I don't know if I like the title Andor because it's so close to Endor, and if you put the wrong inflection on it, you're going to say Endor.
Yeah.
It's like a short A, Andor. Andor. I don't know, I sound like I'm high. Andor. That's weird. It's a weird word, man. So yeah, then so back on the Moff Gideon ship, the Mandalorian escapes after the fog clears, so to speak, quite literally actually, and he sneaks off the ship. And I think it was Mark or was it Trent last night that said it. I think it was Trent. It reminded him a lot of Obi-Wan sneaking through the Death Star on A New Hope.
Yeah,
which I definitely picked up the vibe on the second viewing with that in mind.
Have you noticed? It feels like a lot of the troopers, when the dialogue with the troopers, it feels like they've taken the original trilogy
Yes.
Dialogue and just recycling it.
Yes, I even commented at one point. They say freeze, drop your weapons, which is, I mean, I think that was from Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just the typical stormtrooper classic phrases, freeze, drop your weapons, and yeah, it's really cool. But yeah, I did pick up on that. And so this is where they kind of come out to that bridge you were talking about. Bo-Katan says it looks clear, and Sasha Banks says, yeah, a little too clear.
Yeah.
So they're kind of suspecting they're about to walk into a trap, basically. And they go out to that bridge. Stormtroopers kind of walk out. I think this is the whole intent, was to trap them here. Mm-hmm. And on both sides of the bridge, the stormtroopers come flying out. Bo-Katan and her buddy kind of jump off the bridge, leaving Cara Dune and Fennec Shan to fend for themselves. They take out the first platoon, and that's when the second platoon comes out and says, "Freeze, drop your weapons." And then Bo-Katan and her buddy flies up with their jetpack, and they take out the entire squad.
Yeah, that was a cool. Because you see that one stormtrooper, you realize that it's just there's nothing underneath them. So if they fall, they're dead. And, they're
Right.
falling out into space. And
Right.
I love the way that the Bo-Katan and her, the Mandos come flying up and are like, hey, we're gonna kill you. And yeah. There again, what good is stormtrooper armor? And going back to the what good is stormtrooper armor? When you play those video games where you're dealing with armies, or you're dealing with pawns, basically.
Yeah.
So you get these people that have no real energy or no real defense, and you have thousands of them. That's what I think stormtroopers are. So instead of sending like three really strong people after you, we're going to send thousands of really weak people after you, and it's going to basically wear you out. So
it's more.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I keep interrupting because I'm excited, but no, it's more of a fear tactic. Like, we have 1,000 stormtroopers versus your 30 villagers who are rebelling against us right now. Who do you think's going to win?
Right. And if the 30 villagers, don't lose their shit, or keep their cool, they could probably beat those 1,000 stormtroopers.
Probably.
If they have just a little bit of training.
Absolutely. I mean, the other aspect about these dark troopers is, imagine how the story would unfold if the Separatists had these guys, or the Empire earlier on had these guys. I mean, it would just been there'd be no match.
Right.
Which I kept thinking about as I was watching this episode.
Yeah, but then, I don't want to get it. Yeah, then look at what they did. Who came to save the day, and how weak those dark troopers looked versus. Yeah. It just takes one person being better than you, and
yeah. Let's work our way there, I guess.
Yes.
It's just like it's like we just want to jump to that, but we get more shots of Mando sneaking through the cruisers, and I think this is what Trent was talking about, how he kind of pulls back into a little hallway corridor, and stormtroopers passing by, and it is almost exactly from A New Hope.
Speaking of hallways, how did you feel their use of hallways in this episode?
I didn't mind it. I felt like there was enough diversity in the hallways. Awesome. I mean, we had the bridge scene, we had like a storage room scene, which we're about to get to. We had the hallway outside of the dark trooper place. We had a hallway where it's outside the brig, and that's basically it. And then the hallway outside of the bridge of the ship.
Yeah.
So I thought they all looked different enough where it didn't bother me that they were reusing the set like the one with Mayfield from the last season.
Okay.
When they're when they're on the Republic jail thing.
Well, I want to circle back around to this when we get to the good stuff, to the big battle.
It's all good.
Yeah.
But it gets better. So the dark troopers activate, and they try to exit their storage room. We do see a Death Star droid kind of wandering the halls. Kara's gun gets jammed while they're in one of the hallways, and she uses it as a blunt weapon, which I thought I liked it.
Mm-hmm. More great acting than
I thought this episode, it was less offensive, her acting.
Uh-huh.
And I shouldn't say less offensive. I thought it was, because that's negative. I thought it was an improvement.
Right.
I don't know if she got acting lessons between the last episode and this one.
I did think it was funny when she's trying to unjam her gun in the elevator, and Bo looks at her and is like, "Do you need help?" "Oh no, dang fair!" And then she bangs it on the ground, and she's like, "I got it!" Just like, oh my god.
Yeah. So before that happens, though, she tries to use her weapon, and it jams up, and she's using the back of it to knock some stormtroopers out. And then we see dark troopers try to exit their room, but the Mandalorian is able to rush up and close the door, but not before one of them can get their hands between the door frame before it closes, shut. It kind of comes in, and he's able to grab both sides of the door and pull it open, and he knocks the crap out of the Mandalorian.
Oh my god, dude.
He sends him across the hallway.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm jumping ahead yet again. So yes,
Yeah.
when he sends him across, yeah.
And then he tries to use his blaster, but nothing is working. It's like as strong as Beskar steel almost.
Mm.
And then he grabs the Mandalorian and he's just smashing his helmet. And the helmet is strong so that it doesn't ding the helmet, but it does push it like it pushes it back into the wall like it's a mold or something. Like he's just, taking a beating from this dark trooper, and they're really selling the fact that these guys are strong and dangerous threat.
Right. And it also uh helps the legend of Beskar, because that thing, you look at the other troopers beating on glass and it's cracking, and the Beskar is not even bending.
Right.
Which, yeah, and then I'm going to jump back, I also saw an interesting article that the dent in Boba Fett's helmet now doesn't make sense because of how strong they're showing Beskar is in this show.
Well, we don't know yet. Maybe there's something else stronger out there. But yeah, you're right. You're right. Absolutely.
But anyway, I digress.
Yeah. Let's see. From there, after the Mandalorian takes a beating and keeps on ticking, he pulls out his Beskar spear after he gets thrown, and he kind of jams it into the Dark Trooper's neck and just snaps the head off. And we see oil oozing and gushing out from it.
Right.
And then we get that funny scene on the elevator as Kara tries to fix her blaster and think Eric and son of a mudslinger, was it?
I don't remember her saying that, but yeah, she was.
Yeah, right after she says mud ferret or something like that. I don't remember. But then she steps out, and this reminded me of Spaceballs, if you remember the scene where the princess has got a blaster and she just steps out and she starts blasting everyone and back and forth and taking everyone out. It just reminded me of that. But then they take the bridge and Gideon's not there. And that's the last place we saw him.
You forgot about Mando sending all those dark troopers into space.
Right. Sorry.
That's all good, man. When I saw that, I was like, where's your magnetic boots, guys? Where's your magnetic, why couldn't they have just, I know yet again, you're overthinking it. You just want to shut your brain down and enjoy Star Wars, but freaking R2's got magnetic boots. Why don't those guys have them?
Maybe they didn't have time to activate, but as soon as they got jettisoned out, my son was like, they're going to fly back.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely. You're right.
There was too much buildup for that to be the end of them.
Right. Oh, now that I think about it, the Dark Troopers had some Vader to them too.
Yeah.
The shape of their helmet.
Okay. Yeah.
So maybe that's where some of the familiarity comes from. So after Mandalorian jettisons the Dark Troopers and the Bo-Katan and her crew take the bridge, we cut to Grogu's cell, and Gideon is there with Grogu with the Darksaber open. He's just an incredible actor, and he really sells the villainy of this guy. A hero is only as good as the obstacle he has to overcome, which is Gideon, and Gideon is a huge obstacle. He even says, assume I know everything.
Yeah, that freaking Darksaber, man. You as soon as he opens the door, you hear it. And it's just so eerie and so awesome at the same time. The sound of that Darksaber.
The Mandalorian learns about the Darksaber in this scene. Gideon kind of fills in the backstory, but we learn that the Mandalorian doesn't care about that. He just wants the child. And we learn that Gideon wanted the child's blood because he's got special potential. He says like the child has the potential to bring order back to the galaxy. So again, they're using that word order. And as the Mandalorian reaches for the child, that's when Gideon attacks and does his double cross, literally stabs him in the back.
That whole scene where Gideon's just sort of like, oh yeah, sure, I got what I wanted, and you just have this bond with the kid, and he's trying to be. I was like, I'm watching it, I'm going, damn it, is this how they're going to end this? Thinking that Moff Gideon's just going to go, okay, take him and leave. And as soon as he picks it up, you're like, all right, you see that smirk, the Giancarlo Esposito smirk, and then you hear the Darksaber kick on, and you're like, yeah, it's on now.
Yeah, I guess he was trying to size him up, and he kind of tries to pull the Mandalorian's guard down a little bit. and that's when he tries to literally stab him in the back. But he should have known better that it was all Beskar, and the Darksaber can't cut through Beskar.
But you could tell it still hurt because the Mando, I guess he either wasn't expecting the onslaught that he got, or but you could just, after that whole first initial attack, you could hear, Din Djarin breathing heavy, and I think he was kind of like, oh crap, that dude just attacked me.
I mean, he's probably got a concussion. I mean, if we're following human rules, if Mandalorians are closer to human, I don't know, but he's probably got a concussion from the Dark Trooper smashing his skull in.
Yeah, that thing probably his ears are probably ringing from that. So yeah.
Yeah. So then let's see. So yeah, he pulls out the Darksaber. He tries to cut through the armor, but he can't. There's a really cool battle scene here between Gideon and Mando, and the Mandalorian pulls out his Beskar spear. So it's this spear against the Darksaber. The Darksaber is able to heat up the Beskar as they kind of lock in place for a little bit. You see the little red glow of it. But in the end, Mandalorian knocks down Gideon, and Gideon kind of realizes what's just happened in terms of the Mandalorian story, the folklore, maybe. Mm-hmm. And he says, you spared my life. Well, this should be interesting because he knows the power play that's about to happen.
That whole scene, man, Game of Thrones feel, right? Speaking of Game of Thrones, because he's the one, he's battled in a death match in Game of Thrones with the spear. So the stuff he's doing in that, it right. Feels like it's the same moves because, yes. He's flipping that thing around. He's kicking it to flip it around to get it back to his advantage. Just the way he fought with that was pretty cool. So it had, I'm assuming it was him in the rig, but you never know.
What is he, the Red Viper in Game of Thrones? Isn't something that what the like character's known by? Yeah,
probably. But those of you that don't know the Game of Thrones, have never seen it. There's the one guy and the queen. The brother and sister are fighting, but they can't fight each other, so they do like a death match, and they can each bring their own fighter. And
Tyrion Lannister did something wrong, and he's on trial. And instead of being executed, he's like, "I demand trial by combat." And that's when the Red Viper, or the Mandalorian, he kind of shows up with his spear in the mountain, which is this. It's like the Night of all nights. He is huge and massive, and you would think that he's going to lose that battle, but it is a spear battle.
The way he was spinning that spear around, it was definitely, they kind of mirrored each other. People were calling it the second that spear showed up, that it was going to be something very similar.
Very cool.
Yeah. But at least he kept his helmet on this time.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to make that mistake twice. And if you've seen Game of Thrones, you get the joke. Mandalorian walks onto the bridge with Gideon in what do they call it? Restraints. They don't call it handcuffs.
Yeah, it's restraints or something.
Yeah. So they walk on, and he's got the Darksaber in his hand, open, kind of like, if you move, I'm gonna cut you, kind of to Moff Gideon. Mm-hmm. But it scares the crap out of Bo-Katan. She realizes what has happened, that he has been defeated, and the Mandalorian has the Darksaber. Mandalorian has defeated Gideon in combat, which gives him the right to the Darksaber, and therefore gives him the right to rule Mandalore. And the Mandalorian doesn't care about any of that backstory. He's just like, take it. And Gideon is kind of fueling the flames there, where he's, explaining that she can't. It's the Darksaber itself doesn't have power on Mandalore. The story does, and how you earned it. And so Bo-Katan can't take that, which I know you have trouble with.
I have big trouble with this, and I've been thinking about it because in Rebels, Sabine. Okay, so here's my thought, or my thinking of it, and maybe Sabine never wins the Darksaber in Rebels. She just finds it, and Kanan keeps telling her to take it, and she keeps fighting with it, fighting the fact of what the Darksaber means, because she understands it, and that's the only reason why. Because she learns to fight with it and everything, and just never is comfortable with the Darksaber. And she finds it. They basically find it in Darth Maul's lair and take it, and there's no battle for her to take it. That's the only reason why I think Bo-Katan won't take it. And then, hold on, I'm jumping ahead. Anyway, long story short, in Rebels, she ends up giving it to Bo-Katan, and Bo-Katan accepts it. In the Mandalorian, Bo-Katan is not taking it from Mando, and the main reason I think is because Mandalorian won it through battle, where Sabine didn't win it through battle. And I may be grasping at straws. I don't know, but that's the only reason why I can't think she's not taking the Darksaber. But I have a big. The minute I saw that, I was like, dude, you took it in Rebels. Why aren't you taking it now? To me, it was a big flaw in the storytelling. Dave Filoni did Rebels, so
Yeah, but I think
that it's not like, oh, I forgot that she took it in Rebels. You know what I mean? There's got to be a reason behind it, and it bothers me.
But I think you did. I think you did answer your question there when you said that it was found. It wasn't earned. It doesn't belong to Sabine because she didn't earn it. It belongs to Bo, and she was probably the last person to earn it.
Yeah, and I mean that hit me 5 minutes ago while I'm going through it in my head.
Yeah,
and that's the only thing I can think of.
That's the loophole.
Yeah, but and I know it's not something that Dave Filoni didn't just go, oh, I forgot about that, because he freaking wrote Rebels, so he knows his stuff.
Yeah, he does. So I have faith that that's probably the story behind the difference between the two situations.
Yeah, but I don't want to say that ruined it but it came pretty damn close to ruining that episode for me, just because. Yeah.
But I think it's going to be very interesting. In season 3, are we going to see Bo-Katan try to double cross the Mandalorian at some point?
If she wants that Darksaber that bad, man, it's setting up. But that scene and the end credit scene is setting up for a very interesting. It's going to be a long freaking year waiting for season 3 to pop up, just so we know, what the heck is going to happen.
It poses an interesting question for Bo-Katan. What do you truly want? Do you want Mandalore to be united and free again? Or do you want to rule Mandalore? Because there is a difference there. And if she really wants to have Mandalore be what it was, then she doesn't care too much about the saber. But if she wants the saber, then it's really the power to rule is what she wants.
Mm-hmm.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
But then the Dark Troopers come flying back. I like the line, ray shields have been breached, and ray shields were introduced in Revenge of the Sith. There's just another callback, which I appreciated.
Right.
Some prequel love, which I think the sequel trilogy kind of stayed the hell away from.
Yeah, and they were like, how many life forms? And none of them, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, they're all Dark Troopers. So they were too deep. I can guess your question there. I think they were too deep in those pods because the pods alone look like they carried one. Okay. But there's that scene where they start to line up to kind of attack the Mandalorian before he's able to close the door, and they've kind of doubled up.
Okay.
And so I do think that, because I had the same question at first, it wasn't until the second viewing that I realized that there's troopers behind the first wave of troopers.
Okay. So that explains why it seems like there's double the freaking Dark Troopers this go around.
Yeah, because my first viewing, I thought the same thing. Like, whoa, was there another ship out there? What's going on? So they seal the blast. Let's get to this good part here. They seal the blast. They seal the blast doors to the bridge, and the Dark Troopers are on the other side trying to punch their way through. And there's this whole buildup of tension. Just quiet shots of them watching the doors. Shots of the not Death Troopers, the Dark Troopers just knocking their fists into the doors. Gideon is talking about how much that he knows that they're dead. The only people that's going to be left living is him and the child. All hope essentially is lost in this moment.
I did like the way that she said blast doors, because she's like, close the blast doors. It was there again, yet another throwback to the OT.
Classic Star Wars.
Yep.
But then we see an X-Wing in the window of the bridge come from the right and swing through and land in the hangar. They call to the X-Wing, what do they say? Kind of like, provide like what's your name or something like that.
Yeah,
identify yourself. Yeah.
And at the first show that you see that X-Wing, I was like, what the heck's Dave Filoni doing here? Because it doesn't hit you who it is until, because you can't even tell that X-Wing's red. I thought it, because it looked blue.
Yeah, yeah,
And maybe because of the way that they shot it, and it's in black and white, so you don't really tell. You can't tell that it's red. As soon as Baby Yoda's ears perked up, you're like, oh shit, I know
yeah,
who that is.
yeah. At this moment, unfortunately, it was spoiled for me because I had almost thought about deleting Facebook from my phone for the day.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't because it is my job to make sure that nobody's saying anything bad about my company on Facebook. I had gone the whole day. It was like 3:30. I had an hour left and I completely forgot. I was tired. It's Friday. I opened up Facebook and in the spoilers there, I saw a shot of something, of a green thing. And I'm like, oh crap. And I spoiled it for myself. I had gone the whole day. So when I saw that X-wing, I knew what it was. I was still just as excited, but the surprise was gone. The
Yeah,
twist.
and then the whole reveal, and this is getting back to my hallway question. When Luke's working his way through the ship, that's when the hallway thing, I think that's where I should have, asked the question, because it just seemed like, how many of these damn troopers are there? Because it was a
Yeah.
ton of them, and they were all
Yeah.
over the place.
Yeah. Well, he's slicing through them. So like you said, Grogu's ears perked up. He senses a change in the Force. Something is happening. Blah, blah, blah. So excited. The Dark Troopers stop punching the door.
Mhm.
They turn to face their new threat, and that's when we see a hooded figure and a security camera just walking down. And then we see another security camera with a lightsaber taking down all these troopers. And Gideon looks scared, like he knows that the game is over for him. We see the green lightsaber. We see a black glove on the right hand.
They slowly reveal who it is, and at that point, because you see the security cameras are in black and white, so you don't know it's a green lightsaber. You just know it's a lightsaber. And as soon as they cut to another scene and it's in color, was the lightsaber ignited, or he ignited it? But all of a sudden you see that green lightsaber and you're like, oh shit.
Well, the first time we see the lightsaber, it's in the security cam footage, so it's not colored. It's not until we actually see like the hangar bay or storage bay that we see the green in the saber.
Yeah.
But before anything else happens, Gideon tries to kill Bo-Katan. He turns with that blaster that he kind of conceals when they knock him on the ground. So he has that blaster. He tries killing Bo-Katan, and then he tries to shoot the child. But I guess to prove his loyalty to the child for the audience, or just to show how much he's willing to put his life out for this child, he jumps in front of the blaster and saves the child. The Mandalorian does.
Yeah.
And then Gideon tries to kill himself.
Yeah. What a weak way out, dude. But they're Finnick was the one that stopped them, right? Was it Finnick or Kara?
Kara. I think it's Fennec.
But
And then,
Kara wants her. Go ahead.
no, go.
Kara wants him because he's got a whole bunch of information, and now that she works for the Republic, uh, he's got information and she wants it. And there's another storyline for next season.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, if they want to figure out what the Imperials are up to, they want to learn about who's in charge, like all that stuff. I would imagine Gideon has that information, which makes him a valuable target.
Right. Which, when Ahsoka is crap, between Ahsoka and Rangers of the New Republic and the Mandalorian, oh my God, we're in trouble, dude, because it's going to be so much content and it's going to be so awesome and it's going to intersect. And yeah, The Walking Dead did this with one of their new shows. It's basically a teenage story, but then they have a bunch of stuff that's happening in the background that you need to watch to figure out what's going on with their other shows. So here they are taking this show that you shouldn't care about and making you watch it so you know what's going on in the background.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be one of those, I really think. And
yeah, I got out of Game of Thrones when they killed off Glenn.
yeah.
I just stopped caring because I felt like, there's an unwritten rule, I guess, with showrunners and the audience. Like, you care about our show, you care about the characters. We care about your viewing of these characters. And when they killed off Glenn, he was such the heart of the show. This is kind of meta right now. and you stop caring. And I was just like, you know what? After like a couple more episodes, I'm like, I guess that's it for me. So I guess you're still watching it, and I appreciate that they still have that. They have deeper level of storytelling.
It's I've had to force myself over the past couple of years watching it, and it's come from appointment. It went from being appointment TV for me and my wife to being what haven't we watched yet TV.
Yeah.
After we've cleared the DVR, we'll go, oh, we haven't watched the original Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Now the second they have Fear the Walking Dead, which I think is better, and to pardon my French, it has bigger balls than Walking Dead did because they killed off a ton of people in that show, and it kept everything fresh. But
I guess it just got too bleak for me, and Star Wars is hopeful,
right?
Which is No,
So,
keep going. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good, man. But Glenn's death is straight out of the comic book. So
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I knew what's going to happen because I have a good friend who had read Walking Dead since issue 1. He has that, and he absolutely loved that they were making the show. So he was getting me excited about it. So I was into it from day one. And Glenn was one of my favorite characters because of his ingenuity, his heart. He held on to the humanity even as Rick was losing it.
Yeah. So, yeah, and it's interesting. I'm going to say one more thing, and then we're going to get off Walking Dead. But the way they end that comic book is it just ends. He just one day the creator was just like, all right, I'm done, and he basically told everybody thanks for the ride, and we're done. And that's how they ended the comic book, which is to me crazy. But
yeah,
I think that's how they're going to end up ending the shows too. But it's cool because it's shot in Atlanta, and I've gone down where they shot, down in Sonoya where they've shot it all, and it's been cool. And as much as I hate what they're doing to it, it's been cool for Atlanta. It's been cool for tourism down here, and
definitely.
If I know something shot in Atlanta, I'll watch it. I don't care how bad it is, just to try to figure out where it was shot and be like, just to get the background and say, oh, I know where that is. And I'm a nerd like that.
Yeah. We'll get back to Star Wars in a second, but just jumping off of that, we've done the Stranger Things tour because my kids love Stranger Things, and we've gone to the mall. We went to the Piggly Wiggly from the first season where 11 steals a bunch of Eggos. We've gone to Hawkins Middle School,
wow,
which is on the way to my mother-in-law, so it's not like it's too far out of the way because it's really south from here, from where we live. But when I was filming that Baby Yoda Grogu, visiting Atlanta and going to all these different places, my son and I actually went down to the high school again to try to get a shot of Grogu in front of the high school, but they had painted off or stripped off all the Hawkins Middle School text on there. So it's not there anymore. And I was like so frustrated because I had spent an hour to get to this place and it's not there anymore. So
I think people... Go ahead.
No, I think the contract was up there.
Yeah, but I think people would have got it without the whole thing, without the Hawkins Middle School being there. But I actually got kicked out of that mall, out of Gwinnett Place Mall. And a buddy of mine, we were getting done with lunch, and I was like, "Dude, you want to see where they shot Stranger Things?" So we went in there, and it's all blocked off. You can't get into anything. I don't know how it is now. This has been a couple of years. And you could walk up to the screen, to the fence, and kind of peer in there. Well, we're looking in there, and a security guard shows up, and she's like, "Do you guys take any pictures?" I'm like, "No." She goes, "We've been arresting people for taking pictures in here." And
what?
Yeah, she was kind of being a jerk. And I'm with an older guy, and he's just like, "Dude, you almost got me arrested for going and look at a freaking, TV set." But
That's
like
ridiculous.
Huh?
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. But like 6 months before that, while they're filming it, in the middle of filming it, my wife and I drove by there, and you could see all the trucks. You saw all the cars that had been destroyed, and we were like, wow, what the hell happens here?
Yeah.
And and we walked in. I've got a picture of her because at the doors, when you walked into the thing, it said Star Court. So we've actually got a picture, of me pointing at the Star Court sign, and that part they weren't hiding it. But then when you got to like the actual set and the food court section, it was still all lit up with the neons going and everything, but you couldn't get to it, which, you know, whoever owned that mall, they should have did something, you know, hey, I'll pay $5 and let you come in there and look, because that mall's died a slow, painful death over the
Yeah,
past 20 years.
when we got to get back to Star Wars, but when we went to that mall,
Uh-huh.
they were filming Holiday, which is available right now on Netflix. This is not a paid advertisement or anything like that. We went to go see that area that you're talking about, the food court, but they had the scrim up. But as we were there, they were filming a movie, so there was less security over there, and we could have walked through if we wanted to. But my kids were like, "No, Dad, it says no, don't go in there." So I'm like, "All right, we're not going to go in there."
You go over there, look at that store. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
get lost.
So cutting back here, we're getting to the really good stuff, and we've been holding out on the audience. I don't know if you're going to cut that out or what, but we do see the flip side of Rogue One, where there's a bunch of rebel troopers trying to get the hell out of the hallway. But this is the flip side, where there's a bunch of dark troopers in the hallway, and we see the green lightsaber come through, and Luke just starts. I mean, at this point, we're all pretty sure that it's Luke Skywalker, and he just starts slicing through the troopers left and right. I did feel like this moment was missing some of the John Williams music. I thought that would have given it more impact.
Right.
But it was still awesome. Don't get me wrong.
I enjoyed watching Luke kick ass. There was even one scene that I felt it was a throwback to the Ahsoka cutting the tree down and throwing it at somebody, because I'm pretty sure I saw it. He cuts the head off of one of the dark troopers and throws it at another dark trooper. So I thought that was a cool callback. And then him using the Force was just amazing. I like the last dark trooper he kills right on the other side of the blast doors. You know, he crushes him with the Force, and it just kind of all, you know, you see it shaking and be like, oh crap, I'm dying. How many damn dark troopers are there? Because it felt like they were double the number that we first saw. But like you said, there was 2 rows of them, so there you go.
We see Luke cut through everyone, blast doors open, and Luke Skywalker walks in with some of the worst deep fake footage I've ever seen. It lacks emotion. You know, Luke should be smiling, but he's just like, it's very stale. But he does inform. It looks better on the second viewing. I have to admit that once you get past it, once you accept it, it does look like young Mark Hamill. It looks. It's good for what it is. It's not as bad as Jeff Bridges in Tron, but it's not as good as young Robert Downey Jr. in Captain America: Civil War. It's somewhere in between. It is a step. And I'll also say it's a step up from Carrie Fisher in Rogue One.
I still think they should have just said F it and have somebody who looks like him, because
Yes.
the first viewing, my wife was like, who is that? I said, I don't think that's Mark. That's not Mark Hamill. I mean, that's how bad it was. And I'm still struggling to see Mark Hamill in that. I'm struggling even to hear his voice in it.
They gave him credit.
Yeah, they did. And then he did shoot it. But I'm really wishing they would do the same thing, the 007 thing that you keep going to, that yes, find somebody who looks like him instead of trying to do the computer thing, and we'd get over it, because you know those guys are in their 60s, and you know that unfortunately Carrie's no longer with us, so they can't do it, and let them, you know, we would deal with it. We know it's a TV show. We know they're not, you know, they can't play those characters forever, and just let it. We're big boys. We'll get over it. And right. The people that are new to it don't. I mean, they know who they are, but they also understand it's a 40-year-old movie, and they can't do it. You know, it would be okay if they got somebody else to play Luke. I would be okay with that. We got over it with Lando and Han Solo. We got over it with Chewbacca. Even though Chewbacca's in a suit, he still doesn't look the same. You know.
Yeah. We
got over it with those 3 characters. We'll get over it with Luke. We'll get over it with Leia. But you know, would they have? Then you're also going into the whole setting up things for later episodes. You know, would they have, if they would have got a new actor in? Are they setting it up? You know, what are they setting up with Luke and Grogu? How much of that are we going to see? You know, would they have felt if they would have got a new character, a new actor, we'd want to see more? And this is sort of the way of, you know, not showing you a whole bunch.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see much. of Luke Skywalker after this. But that's my speculation. I think that if they were going to, hold on a second. Oh shoot. Hello?
Hi, my name is Josh. I'm with Ashurion.
Yeah.
Calling to confirm your appointment for today.
Yep. What time?
So I'm actually, my last appointment was actually just down the street, so I'm like 10 minutes away.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
I will see you.
Thanks. Bye. All right. Sorry. The clock is ticking because my phone is broken. It's got a crack in it, and I thought we'd be done by 10:30. So, but yeah.
Shit. All right. Well,
All right. So then, okay. All right. So
take a deep breath and let's finish.
So it'd be funny if you left that in. All right. So the door's open. All right. So we talked about that. Oh, Luke tells the Mandalorian that Grogu doesn't want to leave without permission from the Mandalorian. And the Mandalorian promises that they'll see each other again. He gives them permission. Grogu kind of reaches for the helmet and he's like, I kind of want to see the face of my dad. And that's how I was reading the scene.
Mhm.
And the Mandalorian takes it off and then Grogu touches it. I thought it was just an extremely tender and a very well-earned scene that this 2 seasons have been leading up to this moment. It's awesome.
Yeah, and I went kind of the other way. I thought that Din Djarin wanted to look at him through his own eyes, a la, Return of the Jedi, and Vader and Luke. Let me look at you one time with my own eyes. And yeah, it was a touching scene, and it is there again. It built up the last couple of. I think this whole season built up to that.
Yeah.
That moment.
And then, yeah,
Then you hear the beep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yep.
when I lost it. I don't I don't know why I care about that droid so much. Maybe because he's been in everything, but that's when I started tearing up.
Yeah, this was so awesome. The second time was even better because I was able to process what was happening as R2-D2 kind of swings around. And I love this cameo just as much as Luke. It was just an awesome moment between Grogu and R2-D2. R2-D2's kind of like dancing and he's having fun. He's like, oh, this is great. I love seeing this guy. Like, there was just a lot of joy for R2-D2 to see someone, I think, that looked like Yoda.
Do you think they knew each other? I mean, even though, yeah, the Yoda thing, but
It's possible.
I think that somebody had mentioned that they think that Grogu knows who R2 is because, R2's been around forever.
Yeah, and if Grogu knows who Anakin was, then yeah, definitely.
It was a cool moment. And like I said, I guess it just is one of those characters that everybody loves. You may not love R2. You may not be a huge R2 fan, but when you see him, you're like, that's freaking R2-D2 just because he's iconic. And, I know I talk crap about Anthony Daniels, but, C-3PO, he's iconic too. So those two characters, I think, kind of are Star Wars, and just seeing him on the screen was awesome.
Absolutely. I mean, that was pretty much it. So this I don't know if this is what they were trying to do. So, Luke is leaving with Grogu and R2, and the Mandalorian is alone watching Grogu. This reminded me a lot of E.T. when E.T. is leaving Elliot, and there's that goodbye. It's very, very close to it. It was missing the gravitas of John Williams' score, and I think if we had that, I would have probably still be crying. I do have faith that we'll see Grogu again, and I do think the Mandalorian will see him, unlike E.T., where it was like a final goodbye to your childhood, like watching that, the innocence kind of fly away. And so I think that was missing, but that had some very similar feels, I guess, to it.
Jumping back to the music on this thing, when Luke finally reveals himself and you hear the Star Wars theme, oh, dude, I get chills just when I'm in a store and that music comes up, or you're scrolling through Facebook and you hear the Star Wars, that theme. Yeah, I got to give it to that. It was beautiful. It made that whole scene, the second watching, you're going, oh crap, here it goes. You hear Luke's, I don't know if it's Luke's theme or the Star Wars theme or whatever, but you hear the OT music in the background and it was beautiful.
So then the door closes to the elevator, and that's it. That's the end of the season.
And I, going back before that, the final scene where you see the camera pans back around and you see them all standing on the brig, um, or bridge rather. I thought it was fitting that the Mando was the only one without his helmet on. I thought that sort of
Oh yeah.
harkens back to everything that he with Grogu gone. What else does he have to believe in? And so why keep the damn helmet on?
Yeah. That's a good observation. So it changes everything in season 3. I do feel like this is the Luke that people wanted to see in The Last Jedi and they didn't get.
Oh,
I still love both. I think there's room for both.
mhm.
I think it also leads to some interesting ideas that Luke Skywalker was going to train Ben Solo, but Ben gets tempted to the dark side. He fails as a teacher. So, putting Grogu in Luke's hands, there is some distrust because we as an audience know that he's going to fail.
I don't know what to say to that because you know that the thing destroys his academy destroys, and like somebody was saying, I think Mark was saying, is Grogu going to be around another 25 years for Ben Solo to train? And you look at it and he's 50 years old and he's a toddler, so he's definitely going to be around another 25 years to see what happens. But I mean, are they going to show that to us? I don't think we will. I think it'll be one where Grogu may show back up into it, or Den will show up to check in on him, but I don't think we're going to get a big storyline because it's called The Mandalorian, not the Baby Yoda show.
Right. And I think the best place for the child is with the Mandalorian. I don't think it's with Luke.
Yeah. But did they, do you want him to be a Jedi or not? That's the question. Because if he stays with the Mando, he's not going to be a Jedi. But,
I don't. I think I want to see him because he's suffered a lot from the purge of the Jedi, that he deserves a happy family life.
Mm-hmm. But that's also what the Jedi do, is they pull kids away from their parents.
Yes, and that's not the way that things should be, I don't think.
All right.
You're depriving them of love.
Yeah.
Which is against what Jedi should be.
Right.
But then, so I thought this was a great season, minus the Frog Lady episode, which I guess in the long run really doesn't. It probably ties into the Rangers of the New Republic somehow, but I thought it was an excellent season, very well crafted storytelling. In the end, it all does come together almost. Cobb Vanth is setting up the Boba Fett stuff, and Bo-Katan was setting up some of this stuff that we've seen in this episode. Ahsoka was setting up the Luke Skywalker stuff.
Yeah. I think this whole season was a setup for everything that they're going to do in the next couple of years, but they did it so well. And it was like a new character every week, because every week we did have a new character introduced. All in all, I did enjoy it. It is sort of a springboard, like I said, into everything, and you got to kind of have that. And Dave Filoni, they do such a good job. He did such a good job with this season, and Jon Favreau, and it brings people. They did a good job of satisfying both fandoms. I think you got the people who don't know anything, and then you got us who know everything, or not everything, but know a lot.
Right.
Hell, even some of it's stumping me, and I know a lot about this stuff. So go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say credits roll, the end. Goodbye. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's all good, man. I know your phone's getting ready to.
No, my wife took the phone, so I don't need to get off. But we've been on here for an hour and a half now, so you're gonna have to cut some of this.
Yeah, it'll get cut down. But after the credits roll, you see the inside of Jabba's palace.
Yeah, we see the twin sons of Tatooine. We see Jabba's palace, and I was just like, "Dang, Ferrick, look at this! This is beautiful. What is happening? Did Luke take this over? What's going on here?" We see Bib Fortuna, bloated and in charge, sitting on Jabba's throne. He calls over his weak way, which was awesome. And then, Fennec starts we see someone blasting, and someone falls down the stairs, and it reveals to be Fennec. But did Bib Fortuna say McClunky?
I don't remember, but maybe.
Because I made a McClunky patch, and it's with Greedo on it. And if he says McClunky, I need to make a bloated Bib Fortuna patch now to
Dude, how
go
much
with it.
weight can you gain in 5 years?
I guess when you're in charge and everybody just, I don't know. I guess it's possible. I think they're just showing that his status has changed.
Mm.
That he's the fat king, that he can get whatever he wants. He's been in charge. But he's not very powerful.
No.
But I did see on the second viewing, someone pointed this out, that he's got his Kenner staff, which was never in the movie, but it's here now, so it's officially canon.
Right.
And then Boba comes walking down the stairs, and Bib tries to be friendly. Hey, I heard rumors. You're still alive. Hey, great to see you. But Boba just like, that's it. He blasts him, and he takes the throne.
Fennec gets her, what is it? The drink or whatever.
A swig of, blue wine or whatever it is.
Yeah, they call it Spotcha or whatever Cobb Vanth calls it. And she's, it's the same drink.
Yeah.
So she's acting like a badass and drinking and like, yeah, we took this bitch. And it's like, you didn't have to work too hard at it. You just had to blast some people. And I've also heard that with her releasing the slave, that can go back into her being a Bad Batch with, she's anti-slavery. So that I think is going to have could have an impact on Bad Batch. And I will say that Tamora Morrison is going to be a very, very busy person here in the next few years, because he signed on for I think he's going to be in the Obi-Wan series. He's going to be in the new Boba series.
Ahsoka, he can come back as Rex.
Yeah. So, when he signed on to play Jango Fett, and they're like, we're going to give, make all these people of you. I guess he had no clue in, 40 years later, or not even 20 years later, that he's going to be a very, very busy man.
Yeah, he's got to enjoy the fact that he's gotten a lot of. I think he's bigger now because of Star Wars. He was kind of I don't want to say small, but he was well known on the island that he lived on. I think it was New Zealand. But now he's got so much more opportunity, and who doesn't love Star Wars? So
we hadn't even talked about the Book of Boba yet.
Yeah, so they cut. Boba sits on the throne. Fennec takes a swig of, what's it called?
Spotcha.
Something? And it says, Book of Boba comes out December 2021, and it's my understanding that it's not a full series. They didn't really say anything other than that, but I'm wondering if, I don't know if you've ever seen the Sherlock Holmes show with Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman. It was like 3 2-hour movies almost, and I'm wondering if that's what they're doing with Boba.
It'd be cool. I either think it's going to be something like that, or it's going to be leading into the Mandalorian, or it'll be part of the Mandalorian, like Chapter 1, Part 2, or Chapter 1A or something. And it also, the more I watched it, number one, it gave me an MCU feel. The second go around, you're like, that's totally Jon Favreau out of the MCU. And then there's also Tales from Jabba's Palace in the EU. Yep. So maybe are they gonna, or is that what it's gonna be, or what? But it did definitely. If you pull that, I need to go pull the book out and look at the cover. But it had that feel to it.
What is Boba's motivation here? Is it revenge against Jabba and his crew for, following up that whole incident in Return of the Jedi? Is it that he's just tired of being a bounty hunter, and he's kind of like more confident, and he's just, I'm going to be a crime lord now. I'm controlling things.
Yeah, I think he just wants to be a crime lord. I think it's just it's the evolution of Boba Fett, and it's time for him to be a crime lord and get fat like Bib Fortuna. I mean, I can't make fun of him for being fat. He got the dad bod going, and it's going to be fun. And I think that was a good play by them, holding on to this information and kind of hiding it till the end of the Mandalorian to release it. We got a year to wait, and it's going to be a long year.
So I need my Cobb Vanth action figure. I need my Boba Fett scavenger action figure. I need my Boba Fett returned armor action figure. I need my Boba Fett painted armor action figure. And I need my Boba Fett on the throne San Diego Comic-Con exclusive with Fennec Shan. So that's 5.
Yeah, there's 5 more Fetts, dude. I really think that's going to be the next San Diego Comic-Con, or somebody else is going to be freaking do a custom of that.
It's an awesome shot. I know it's a fan service. I think fan service doesn't work when it doesn't have a purpose other than to serve the fans. And without the context of understanding what Boba Fett's thinking, it does feel a lot like fan service right now.
I'm excited for it. I look forward to seeing, what they're going to do with it.
Yeah.
I the whole thing, it's hard to wrap my head around what they're going to do with this, and maybe we need to freaking do another show on what do we think, because we're already so far ahead of, so far over it. But there's more questions than answered yet again. But
Right. Speculation.
yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be a fun year, or long year rather.
Yeah. But we got Mandalorian, the Gallery season 2, Disney Galleries, the Mandalorian season 2 to look forward to.
Great.
We have the Bad Batch. Looks like it's pretty close to being done. There were shots of, we haven't really talked about this, Camino. So I would assume that the Bad Batch try to figure out what the heck's going on with all the clones, if it's post Revenge of the Sith. So I think the future of Star Wars is bright. There's 12 episodes of Endor. There's 6 episodes of Obi-Wan. We got this Boba Fett limited series. We've got season 2 of The Mandalorian. We've got Ahsoka. We've got more Cara Dune.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I think it's great. We've got new movies. We haven't even talked about Taika Waititi, who's I think a comedic genius with What We Do in the Shadows and Jojo Rabbit. I think his Thor Ragnarok is exactly what Thor needed, and I think he injected some life into that character. And I'm excited to see what he does to Star Wars, because I think he understands the importance of it, and I think he's got the ability to make the pacing and the characters, and I think he understands I'm starting to wake up here too. I think he's understanding what Star Wars is, and I'm very excited about his movie, which is rumored to be like the birth of the Jedi.
Oh wow!
But I mean, that's all speculation. In years from now,
Right?
And, if you're listening to this at home, I know it's kind of late, but every time I say speculation, take a drink. I'm on fire now.
Yeah, that coffee's kicking in now.
Yeah. So I think it's great. I'm very much looking forward to the challenge. I'll be honest. I'm looking forward to the challenge of this podcast, because, we're going to talk each week, and we don't have the crutch anymore of the Mandalorian. So it's, I think next week is going to be a very special episode. There's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll keep us on our toes, man.
Yep.
So
hey, do you have a rant that you want to go on real quick?
I don't know. No, I'm good.
So Merry Christmas, everyone.
We've got a very special episode either next week or the week after next. We're recording that tomorrow because just getting ready for Christmas time. And well, thanks for joining us for this wonderful adventure, and thanks for listening. And email us at smugglersgalaxy@gmail.com, and we'll talk about, maybe we'll do another wrap-up episode of The Mandalorian. Maybe we'll talk about something else. I don't know. We'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
Jason, thank you.
Yep.
Have a good rest of your day. Enjoy your new phone. This is the way.
This is the way.